everyone. My name is Joanne Okitoy-Heisig, and I'm the Communications Officer at the Geneva Trade platform. It's day 3 of Geneva Trade Week 2025, and it's the official start of the WTO Public Forum. And it's a buzz of activity. There's tons of delegates who are arriving and gathering in Geneva for the next 2 days. So I am joined by Yasmin Ismail, and she is the Senior Policy Advisor at the Forum on Trade, Environment and SDGs, otherwise known as TESS. And she's also an independent expert on digital trade, which happens to be also a central theme of this year's public forum. Yasmin, yesterday TESS had a session entitled Trade and the Transition to Net Zero Scenarios and Pathways for Climate Resilient Development in Key Sectors. When we hear the word net zero, it sounds a little abstract. But from your perspective, what would you say are the real changes in everyday sectors like energy, food, or transport that are shaping the way countries trade with each other?
Thank you so much, Joanne. Let me start by saying that this is exactly why we had this session yesterday. And the session was actually an opportunity to launch our compilation of policy briefs that tries to move from abstract to concrete and identify what are the existing pathways to net zero in different sectors, and also to have a zoom in and a focus on implications for developing countries and climate resilient development based on these pathways. So we're trying to get more concrete and actually help developing countries have a more in-depth understanding of what's happening in those sectors and how it impacts them. And what I can tell you very briefly is that net zero pathways are very concretely impacting trade. In energy, for example, you could see that the acceleration of renewable energy is increasing demand for critical minerals and impacting supply chains. You could see also in transport that shipping, aviation are under pressure to cut down their emissions. And so there is a look for alternative fuels, and these, for the time being, are being costly. And you can see also in agriculture that climate change is leading to an increase in sustainability standards, which can impact market access. These are very concrete changes that are happening and affecting trade. And at the same time, the net zero pathways, in order to achieve climate goals of the Paris Agreement, are changing what we are trading, how they are produced, and the conditions for them to enter the market.
Just touching on the fact that there's a level of awareness raising that is ongoing also as far as developing countries are concerned, what opportunities would you say exist for developing countries in this global shift towards greener trade? And what are some of the risks that the developing countries also need to watch out for?
Well, I'll be inspired a bit from the discussion yesterday, not only from the content and substance in this net zero policy brief compilation, but we had the presence of some developing countries in this meeting. And what is glaring is that definitely many developing countries realize the opportunities of transitioning and having net zero pathways. In many ways, we see many developing countries are abundant in renewable energy. Many of them are abundant in critical minerals. This offers a lot of opportunities for them, but also at the same time, they represent a challenge, because we need to remember that developing countries are bearing, let's say, a dual pressure. A pressure to adapt to climate change, because many of them are impacted by climate change, changes in temperatures and the weather events that can lead to some destruction for their infrastructure, for their trade infrastructure, and impact even some of these sectors. And at the same time, they bear the pressure of complying with the rising standards, rules to meet sustainability standards and climate objectives. And they also realize they have a great potential in this journey of transitioning to net zero through their renewable energy, through their resources, but lack some of the needed infrastructure to attract more investment. So there are a lot of opportunities, but a lot of, I'm not going to call risks, but a lot of challenges that they are taking steps to address. And we should recognize this and at the same time need support to address.
Okay. I want us to talk a little bit about the kind of partnerships or cooperation between countries which could really make a difference in making this transition fair and more inclusive. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yesterday, I tried to summarize the discussion in some keywords, and I will tell you what comes to my mind very quickly now. But finance, technology have been very prominent in mentioning. These are two key enablers where there is a lot to explore how trade can contribute to these two enablers for developing countries. What role can trade play in order to support more finance, climate finance for developing countries in order to be able to respond to and comply to these increasing sustainability and climate change requirements. Also, what is mentioned is skills, infrastructure. This is greatly linked to finance, but also to more capacity building, more technical assistance. And another area of cooperation which was mentioned is the fact that they are facing a plethora of standards, right, and different measures, which can increase the burden on their small holders and exporters. So more cooperation to explore opportunities of coherence, interoperability, increasing the development dimension for these standards and trade climate measures that are being increasingly adopted, and also an equity angle for them. This is in summary what has been discussed yesterday, and this is also an opportunity for me to mention that TESS just published a report that addresses these challenges of coherence, interoperability, transparency, development dimensions of trade measures for climate objectives. I invite everyone to check it and to check the compilation report of the Net Zero Pathways series.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yasmin. I'm really glad that you mentioned that publication because that was going to be my next question because I know that's hot off the press from TESS. Yes. But thank you for taking the time to share with us the main highlights of the discussion that happened yesterday. For anyone who is working on the intersection between trade, climate, sustainability, digital trade as well, please check out Geneva Trade Platform's YouTube channel and you'll be sure to find a lot of the sessions that TESS has been holding from Monday all the way till Thursday, touching on themes of trade, sustainability, climate, and digital trade as well. We will continue bringing you live updates from Geneva Trade Week and also from our sessions at the WTO Public Forum. So that's it from us. It was a pleasure talking to you, Yasmin.
A pleasure.